Let's talk about intermediate natties. Folks have been plowing away for a few years. I think that's when a lot of people get that like, nothing I'm doing is working anymore.
It's funny, like this is kind of like purgatory. Like most people just get stuck. So let's say that you're at the stage where you can only put on 1 to 3 pounds of muscle per year. And so imagine if instead of you grow 2 pounds of muscle across your entire body, imagine if those 2 pounds were literally just put on your side delts.
Yes.
You got here by training hard, being consistent, right? But now it's not just about training hard, you have to train smart.
Hey guys, I want to help natural lifters grow. So I brought in an expert, Jeremy Ethier, who has his own amazing channel. He's a super bastion of wisdom. And why am I not a bastion of wisdom? Because you guys know I'm a steroid freak and I cheated my way to the bottom, clearly. Let's talk to Jeremy and see how we can get jacked as natties. I have tons of stuff I think holds naturals back, but I want to know what you think, because we have a whole list to go through of real technical stuff. But like, give us your top 2 or 3 major things that you think natties are really missing in their quest for their best results.
What I found, like going through, several years of training, finding what works, what doesn't work, is that I think the best way to find what's holding you back is to find the #1 constraint, right?
Yes.
And this differs based on your experience level. So for example, if you're a beginner, right? It's pretty simple. You just show up and you train decently hard. And the name of the game there is just consistency,
yes.
Right? After a year of doing that, just simply showing up, you can make pretty good newbie gains, right? And I think after you're past that stage, you get into novice territory, right? And this is where things get a little bit different. You've grown a decent amount of muscle, but in order to get the next phase of growth, you can't just continue doing what you were doing. Now you actually have to create a system for tracking your progression, getting stronger, and actually like pushing yourself in the gym, right? Getting comfortable with the discomfort.
I love it.
Once you get past that stage, now you're, let's just call it, intermediate stage, later intermediate stage. And it's funny, like this is kind of like purgatory, you know what I mean? Once you get into here, like most people just get stuck forever, right?
Yes.
Because you got here by training hard, being consistent, right? But now it's not just about training hard, you have to train smart.
Yep.
And this goes back to a lot of what you guys teach on your channel, right? Stimulus to fatigue ratio. There's certain exercises that work really well for me. There's others, not so much. The other important thing here, once you get to the intermediate stage, things slow down, like incredibly.
And they will, and you don't have a choice in that.
Exactly.
You have a choice in how much they slow down, but they still slow down.
Exactly. And the mistake that people make is that they correlate progression with muscle growth, which, there is a pretty strong correlation there, but you get so frustrated that things are slowing down and it's like, I'm not making any more gains. So what do? I did, 70 pounds presses last week. I have to do 75 pounds this week. And maybe they do make that jump, but it comes at just a slight modification in their form.
Yep.
Maybe they're going, an inch or 2 less deep than they were before.
Yep.
So on paper, they're making progress, but in reality, like, are they actually challenging their muscles anymore?
Yep.
In this stage, again, it's a really tough stage to navigate through because it's not just about training hard, it's about training smarter.
Yeah.
And just being honest with yourself and accepting the slower progression. But once you do, right, you just simply stay consistent, and that's when you reach the final boss, which is, where you're at, right?
Hey, I'm a boss.
And at this point, the name of the game is just time. Natural bodybuilding, you usually peak later on.
In your 40s.
In your 40s, exactly, because it takes so much time to build an appreciable amount of muscle.
100%.
And so I think like in that final stage, it's all just about, you understand what really works, you know how to manage your fatigue. It's just doing that for long enough, and at the same time, avoiding injury.
Yes,
right?
Huge. That was super insightful. My little tidbit to sprinkle in there is when you're comparing your progress, do it to the expected version of your alternate universe self, which means if you've been training for 8 years as a natty, what would alternate universe you training 8 years as a natty expect to gain? Not what you expected 3 years ago, because you don't make gains that fast anymore. Noob gains are easy. Another one is comparing yourself to steroid users. You watch a couple Larry Wheels videos, a couple Dr. Mike Pekin for a bodybuilding show videos, and you're like, I should be able to add 5 pounds to every exercise for 16 weeks straight. That's just not gonna happen. So outside of managing your expectations, let's talk about more specific stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about intermediate natties.
Intermediate, yeah.
Folks have been plowing away for a few years, not like 7 or 10 plus years, but like 3 to 6, because here's why, and I think the rest of this video can focus on these folks. The beginners, they're good. Training natty, like you said, is just show up to the gym and do stuff. You'll be fine. 3 to 6 years, I think that's when a lot of people, because you kind of alluded to it earlier, you get that like, nothing I'm doing is working anymore.
Yeah.
And of course it's working, it's just working slower. And then they're like, oh, the same shit doesn't pan out like it did. So let's focus on that intermediate, novice to intermediate, 3 to 6 year experience. What kind of volume mistakes do you see those folks make?
If we just take a quick look at the literature, basically what they found is like, if you go from 4 to 5 sets per muscle per week to 10 sets per muscle per week, that alone like doubles growth.
Yes.
Right? But in order to get another huge jump in growth, you're gonna have to go up to, maybe 20, even 30 sets per muscle per week. So there's diminishing returns there. So I think like to get the best progress, you're gonna wanna aim for somewhere between 10 to 20 sets per muscle per week, right? And you can experiment with going higher than that, but again, you have to manage your fatigue. But I think like what a lot of people, one of the biggest mistakes that intermediates make, which I also made back in the day,
Same probably.
When I say, okay, do 10 to 20 sets per muscle per week, most people think like, okay, so I'm gonna do 10 sets here, I'm gonna do 10 sets here, I'm gonna do 10 sets here.
Yeah.
But you don't have to distribute that evenly. Yeah. Because if you think about it, like as an intermediate, in your first couple of years of lifting, you've made like really good gains and then that tapers off. So let's say that you're at the stage where you can only put on 1 to 3 pounds of muscle per year. That's like, if you distribute that across your whole body, that's not like a whole lot of change compared to the early years, right? And so what I like to do is be smarter about how I'm distributing that volume. And what I mean is that once you're an intermediate, you've realized that, okay, like some of my muscles, they just grow naturally better than others, right? Whereas others, either due to my form or genetics, whatever you want to blame it on, they just don't grow as quickly or as well, right? And so imagine if instead of you grow 2 pounds of muscle across your entire body, imagine if those 2 pounds were literally just put on your side delts.
Yes.
That could make an incredible change.
Huge visual impact.
Exactly, right? And so I think it's like accepting that, okay, I'm gonna make slower progress, so why don't I focus my volume on the areas that are going to transform my physique the most and make the biggest visual difference, right? And so for me, for example, my biceps, my arms, they naturally grew pretty well. And so over the years, I was like, okay, I can only recover from so much volume.
So much total training.
Exactly, so much total training. So I'm gonna lower it a little bit for the arms that don't need as much work as the rest of my muscles, but what if I just allocate a lot more volume into my side delts? So I did that for a year, and after that year, it was like huge change, huge improvement.
Yes.
And even though I didn't, like the scale weight didn't change that much, visually, it was like looking at 2 different people.
Oh, a pound on each side delts, that's different side delts.
Exactly. And so I think like you just gotta find ways where you can like really gamify it for yourself and get the most difference despite the diminishing returns that you're experiencing.
I love it. All right, we took care of volume, frequency, huge debate in the natty space. I've been training, let's say twice a week, whole body. As a beginner, a few years it worked great. Now my gains are slower. I'm in that early intermediate phase. What's your advice to me about managing my training frequency? 2 questions there, per muscle and total weekly number of sessions. What do you think?
So I think you get a decent jump in gains. It seems to be about 30% jump in gains going from 1 time per week to 2 times per week.
It's a big deal.
Exactly. So I think if you're not doing that, then that's low hanging fruit. Boom. And then once you're training each muscle at least 2 times per week, again, it depends on how much volume do you need for that muscle. Going back to our discussion before, if I'm prioritizing side delts and I'm doing 20 plus sets for them, I'm probably gonna get a lot better stimulus by distributing that across 3 workouts per week rather than just 2.
So it's like 6 or 7 sets of side delts per workout versus like 10 sets of side delts per workout, which is honestly like this. I'm just doing nothing else with my time at this point.
Exactly. And if we want to get like uber specific, there was, another analysis that was done by Jake Remmert. And they basically want to see, okay, how many sets per muscle can you do in a workout before the gains like really taper off?
Yeah.
And what they found is that that seems to happen around 11 sets per muscle in a workout. So I would say that, you know, you're pretty safe going up to about 11 sets for a single muscle, but if you're starting to go above that, it's probably going to get you a little bit better gains if you distribute that across another workout in the week.
So what would you think about intermediates that are still trying to progress a muscle? They really care about it, but they only train it once a week.
I would say definitely. You're missing out if you're not training it 2, even 3 times per week.
3 times a week. So if you have a muscle that recovers really quickly and you're really struggling to pour enough volume on it, 3 times a week is a big unlock.
100%, 100%. Even, you know, I'm sure you've maybe trained some muscles 4 times per week, right?
I have.
Because I think like if you're managing the volume, if you're only doing 4 sets for each of those workouts, 4 to 6 sets, like they can recover really quickly, especially certain muscles like side delts, which most of the exercises don't do a ton of muscle damage,
100%.
So you can recover really quickly.
100%. That's brilliant. That's awesome. Exercise selection. I want 2 things from you here, Jeremy, 2 bits of wisdom for you. One is I want you to tell us what real big mistakes in exercise selection that intermediate natties make. And I'll share one with you. And if it's the same, we can talk about it. But maybe if you have a different one, that'd be great. And then the second thing I'd love to hear from you is just for you to tell us about what exercises you've found a lot of success in, either recently or back in the day. And you just kind of want to share with people as a sample. And you and I are both scientifically minded. We know that the exercises you're going to share today, they're not like the right answer. You know, someone's like, but Jeremy said this is like, it's just good food for thought. So for that first question, I'll give you a little seed for my answer. Thinking that the specific shape or size of a muscle of a drug using, no offense to me, IFBB pro bodybuilder or NPC national guy is gonna get you that look if you do that exercise, especially as a natty. Like, what's his name does side delt raises like this instead of like that. That's why his delts are capped, is pure and utter insanity. Because most shape comes from genetics. Most size comes from a combination of doing any kind of consistent hard training multiplied by years. That's 95% of why people's delts look like they do. Exercise selection is so much more personal and nuanced. I just would never copy someone's exercise expecting it to be like, this is the one. It might be a great idea to try, but like, that's just not a realistic expectation. What are some other mistakes you think the natties are making when it comes to exercise selection?
I honestly think like you hit the nail on the head. You know what I mean? Because
it's just so common.
It's the same thing. Like if I see, even if somebody is natty and they are huge, I see their routine. I'm like, if I do that routine, I'm gonna look like that.
Wouldn't it be sweet if that's how it worked?
I would love that. I would love to look like you.
Everyone would look like Jeff Nippard, like on the street, and you'd be like, ah, that makes sense.
To put it in perspective, like imagine you picked 6 exercises, right? These are the ones that worked amazing for you. They got you this big, juicy chest. Oh, there we go.
Thank you so much.
They got you the wide shoulders, everything. But the reality is, if I did the exact same exercises as you, and we both trained for 3 years, like we could develop completely differently. Because of our proportions and our limb lengths and all the other stuff that affects how an exercise will actually grow your muscle, right? And a good example of this is like, let's look at something like a barbell squat. You squat like really upright and you seem to have really good ankle mobility. You can keep your chest right up, drive the knees forward.
I have a long torso, short legs, so I'm able to stay upright.
Exactly. And look at your quads. They're incredible.
Oh, stop.
Right? And what I found early on is that barbell squats, like I just couldn't get that upright posture.
So it's a back exercise for you.
Back and a little bit more glutes, right? And so my quads always lag behind. And it wasn't until I made the switch to heel elevated squats, even hack squats, where my quads actually started responding, right? So I think it's like, it's so easy to just look at what Dr. Mike does or look at what Jeremy does. Okay, if I copy this exercise, I'm gonna get the same result. I think you have to get really smart about, okay, how does this apply to me? How might I need to modify this to actually target the muscle I'm intending to?
1000%. Let's look at 3 exercises you want to share with us today that you think the folks out there might benefit from you explaining a little bit. Something that's worked for you, kind of like, hey, we're training XYZ muscle group. You pick. What exercise are you really intending on doing?
Yeah, so I think like for the longest time, my biggest struggle was hitting my chest, specifically the upper chest. And I remember when I first started working out, it was like, I'd go to the incline barbell bench, obviously, you know, goated movement.
Goated.
And I would just, my chest just didn't respond. My front delts blew up, but my chest was like nothing. And like later down the road, I realized that like, okay, I was using these fixed inclines at 45 degrees. 45 degrees may work really well for somebody like you, but one thing that I noticed about myself, and like I can show you a test that I do, it's simply a sternum test, right? If you lie down on the bench and you put your phone, you can see the angle of your sternum. I'm a bit more flat. You, I can tell it's a little bit steeper, right? So it angles back. And basically that means that for you, steeper incline, if you lie flat, that's gonna be a little bit more of a decline press.
Yes.
And so to hit the upper chest, you're probably gonna have to go a little bit higher, exactly. Whereas for me, I'm starting from here. So even a small jump in that incline is already gonna unlock my upper chest. And if I go a little bit higher, it's gonna be a little bit more front delts. And so you might see a lot better results with a higher incline, whereas me, I finally started seeing better results once I used a lower incline.
So we got low incline dumbbell press. What's another exercise that you found really worked for you that some folks might be interested in hearing about?
I think, man, for the side delts, like behind the body, cable lateral raises.
Oh yeah.
Get that deep stretch. I think like a lot of people, they simply train their side delts with dumbbells and it's always hardest at the top. So what I found personally is that once I actually did an exercise where I'm reversing it, where it's hardest down here and I'm stretching the delts, like that just did wonders for my side delts.
Yeah, those are really cool. Last exercise you want to share with folks that you really think is like, man, this was the one that did it for me.
Last exercise, I'm gonna say it's something that I picked up from you pretty recently.
Okay.
It is the infamous Dr. Mike, I don't know what you call it, the line stretch
Lying bicep curl.
I kid you not, if you guys haven't tried this, I was skeptical at first. I gave it a shot and the pump was insane. It's insane.
You do like one set and you're like, what the f?
Exactly, it's like, it felt like I did 3 sets in one. I position myself so I'm able to get a little bit more stability from the bench, but 100%, that was like, I owe a lot of these bicep gains to you.
I love it. All right, so fundamentally this is a training video, training tips. But you said earlier you did not want us to leave the video without mentioning something that you think is critical. And that's basically nutrition, sleep, and overall stress management, which is basically all of recovery and fueling the actual gains. Tell us a story, Jeremy, about how folks that are natural struggle with these in a way that really kicks them in the face and really prevents a lot of gains they kind of should have had coming to them.
So I think the main thing with nutrition is usually intermediates, they fall into 1 or 2 camps, right? The first camp is, okay, when I was a beginner, newbie gains, I just stuffed my face and I'm making incredible gains.
Wait, I got a meme for this, right? Ready? Just fucking eat, bro.
Just fucking eat, bro.
Easy. Thank you for the advice, sir. That advice was 3 words.
But then what happens when you're an intermediate is that the rate at which you can build muscle slows down. So if you eat at the same calorie surplus and you're gaining 1 pound per week, how much of that can actually be pushed towards building muscle?
You got fat, you got muscle.
Exactly.
You gain less muscle, the same size surplus, more fat.
Exactly. But at the same time, you have the other camp, which is like, once you're an intermediate, you've probably gone through a few bulk and cut cycles, right? And what happens after you cut down and you reveal the muscle and you got the 6-pack? Like you look incredible and you're like,
I want to look like this all the time.
Exactly.
And so, I will.
And you will, exactly, at whatever cost.
And never gaining again.
And so what I think happens is that you get stuck in the cycle of like main gaining, or like you bulk for a few weeks, a month, you see just a little bit less ab definition.
Nope.
And you're like, no, I gotta lean back down. Yep. So I think like once you get to the stage, 250 calorie surplus, gaining maybe, half a pound per week, 1% of your body weight per month, I think that's a really good target.
I love that. That's excellent insight. What about sleep? Like, I'll tell you, real talk, even for steroid people, sleep is massive.
Yeah.
But if you're on enough steroids, sometimes it can mask the effects of not getting enough sleep. Like if you're on enough tren, you just kind of feel like you're on no matter what. But for natties, that's not an option, is it?
No, like it affects people differently, but I think for most people, like including myself, 1 night of shitty sleep, even if I get under like 6 hours, like I'm a totally different human, especially in the gym. Right?
Oh yeah.
Even though you can probably, match your performance, the likelihood of you doing that is going to go way down because everything is just way harder. even though it's the same weight as
Yep.
last time, it's gonna feel way harder.
You'll accumulate more fatigue that'll screw you in the weeks later. Here's another interesting insight I read about recently. Even if you do the identical workout and match your performance and get the same stimulus to the muscles, less sleep the night before caps your maximum protein expression for growth significantly, even if you have a good workout. Because you think, caffeine, I'm having a great workout, I did it. It's like, no. You can't do it anymore. Your body's like, chemically, you, I'm not trying to grow as much as usual. That's such a big deal because people think like, hey, they even brag. I've heard this before. Like, it's all love and respect. Everyone does dumb shit. You and I combined have probably done more dumb shit than everyone else. But people are like, yeah, man, I'm making pretty decent gains, even though I sleep only XYZ hours. I'm like, why are you bragging to me about this? Like, yeah, my girl never complains, even though I have erectile dysfunction. Like, why are you saying this out loud? Like, you want more sleep, not less. And a lot of people kind of think like sleep's optional as long as my training is good. You don't come to the gym for good training. You come to the gym for what good training gets you, which is growth signal. And if we know that less sleep the night before can diminish the growth signal, that's a different animal.
Exactly. And I don't know about you, but like if I had to pick between, I can do 4 workouts per week, but I'm gonna get a few nights of shitty sleep because of my work schedule, whatever it is, or I can fix those nights of sleep, but only work out 3 times per week, I would take that any day. I would put money on that person making
No
better
contest.
gains long term.
Totally agreed. What about overall stress management? Kind of trying to do it all. I want to do 8 workouts a week. I want to go to school at the same time. And I'm also running a family business. How much does that play in? Because for me personally, a lot of people look at pro bodybuilders as examples, and they're amazing examples. But you got to understand, a lot of pro bodybuilders, it's literally their job to train, check Instagram, send regrettable DMs to other fitness girls that they want to delete later but can't. And that's kind of about it. There's a lot of time for recovery. Most people don't have that.
100%. And I mean, if you look back at the old school bodybuilders during the golden era, like what did they do?
Lived on the beach.
They lived on the beach. They crushed 2-hour workouts with their buddies, and the rest of the day they just hung out, right? And so I think like you got to think of it as the workouts are providing us stress, but everything you do outside of the gym is additional stressors that can be added that you still have to recover from.
Yep.
And so I think people have to think about it like, again, going back to our volume discussion, we know that more volume tends to lead to more growth, right? But you can only—
if you can recover.
If you can recover. So you have to time it out where, is this an appropriate time in my life where I can really hammer out the volume? Because if not, you're just gonna dig yourself a hole that you have to crawl out of.
And maintenance is easy. Maintenance is 2 workouts a week.
Exactly.
Progress for some intermediate natties could be 4 or 5 days a week. Clear your schedule out a little bit. Drop out of college. You don't need college. You don't need an education. I got an education. What good it do me? Nothing. Just a whole lot of debt. I'm totally kidding. Don't drop out of school. But think about like, hey, if I want to get really jacked this summer, I can go on tons of trips. I can do 2 extra jobs instead of 1, and I'm going to make gains. I'd say like, hey man, how big of a deal are the gains to you? Like pretty fucking big. Like schedule a few fewer trips. Just go to your normal job, smash weights, and recover as much as possible.
Exactly. And I mean, if you know it's going to be a stressful week at work or school or whatever, like you can program around that.
Yep.
Taper the volume a little bit,
Yep.
do a little bit less than usual. Don't, create a bunch of fatigue that you're going to have to recover from. And I think also it's just like, this is something that I'm also trying to do, trying to balance workouts plus YouTube and everything else. It's stressful, right? It's a lot more added stress than I used to have back when I was, a teenager.
100%.
And so it's just like, what can you do to help decrease that stress, help with that recovery, right? So like, I don't know, whether it's just like putting Love Island on and just like tuning out for—
You won't need your brain for that show.
No, exactly.
I've tried using my brain watching it, and it hurt my head.
No, you can't. The key is just like zombie brain and just consume.
Great. Now that's real good recovery.
But it works. That's if there's one recovery hack I can give, it's watch Love Island.
Hey, Love Island production team, we're sort of famous people. If Jeremy and I can get in on like a bonus episode, we just show up to like train the crew or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just don't let me around the boys, because, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna be Lust Island real quick. All right, so I watched this guy on YouTube. His name is Georgiopoulos. He's a phenomenal wrestler, and he has a challenge called Take Me Down, Win $1,000. And it's basically impossible to take down. And at the end, the other guy's breathing really heavy. Giorgio's usually not breathing really heavy because he's a stud. And he pulls up his mic and he's like, what's your message today for the people? And so that's just how I want to do all of my outros from now on. So Jeremy, what is your message for the people, the natty people, the real Volk, you know what I'm saying? The proletariat, the guys just trying to struggle for gains. What is your, just one little quick paragraph to get folks some fucking inspiration, get them on their natty journey?
I think, man, it's just like, you got to stop the comparison game. It's so easy to get sucked up on social media. It's like the response to resistance training, regardless of if you're natty or not, it's all over the place.
It's huge.
So the most important thing is just like how much progress are you making compared to where you were before. Like that's honestly what matters the most.
Yes, you are your own match point. You are your own versus opponent. You're your own enemy. Look in the mirror. That's who's fucking up your life. That 100%. Hits different. I could have said that better. Look in the mirror. That's who is your and it's gonna give you. Jeremy, go ahead and sign us out.
We'll work on it.
We'll work on it.
I actually wasn't sure where you're going with the wrestling thing. I was like getting ready to like take you down for $1,000.
I'm not Giorgio Plus. You just like impale me on a lap pull down and that'll be the whole channel. Folks, if you want Jeremy Ethier to take you down and destroy your pride, he lives in Vancouver. Show up. That's all I gotta say. Peace, homies.
Peace.